Hi, it's Susan, and welcome to my backyard. I thought I would start a new series today, and this one is going to take you throughout my native garden at various times of the year. I have what's called a California native garden for wildlife habitat, and that was the plan when we went looking for a house to move and we were leaving the city in our little tiny 5,000 square foot lot to look for a larger piece of property, which is, hard to come by in Central California and still allow my husband to commute to the Silicon Valley. So we felt pretty lucky to be able to find this. And what you don't know is that this yard, before it had all these plants in it, was actually home to a full-size batting cage, because the people we bought the house from, they had different priorities. They weren't interested in plants, they were interested in baseball and helping their son get to be better at baseball. So they had compacted soil, which meant that the water didn't drain, and this was pretty much a moat most of the year. And they had this full-size batting cage, and around it they would ride their dirt bikes, and they would park their RV back there in an old barn shed kind of thing that was falling apart. And so basically everything was very compacted, and there were no plants growing except for a few mature oaks. We have lost one in the few years that we've been here just from the storms. It just sort of laid over. But I thought it's the 1st of July, so I would give you a look at July in the garden and then maybe take you through the yard month by month so you can see how it changes, and that a California native garden is not filled with cacti and solid rocks and just nothing else. There is stuff blooming. It was blooming a lot more last month, but I didn't get my act together in time to get this video together. And I did think about starting another channel and making it all about my California native garden, but I was thinking that my garden inspires my art, and my art inspires my garden. I did not know anything about eco-dyeing, eco-printing, making dyes from plants. I didn't know any of that stuff before I started researching it for art, and now my garden is evolving to have more than just plants for wildlife. It's going to have plants that I can use for dyeing and eco-printing. So let's take a little bit of a walk around the yard. So because we bought a fixer-upper in every sense of the word, I mean, the house and the property, it was just, 20 years of delayed maintenance. We really did a lot of recycling wherever we could. So wherever you see piles of cement like this, it's either cement that we've ripped up from the yard so that we would allow the ground to soak up more water, or in some cases we called the local concrete company, and they will actually bring you clean concrete that they're ripping up from driveways and sidewalks, and you can use it to make retaining walls like we did. And along this fence line here, there was no fence here before. These are privets, but when we bought the house, it wasn't a solid wall of green like this. The privets were trunks that went all the way up into the high wires, and so the leaves were way up high, and then all you saw when you looked through the fence line were trunks, so you really didn't have any privacy. So what we did about a year and a half ago, we cut them all down to the ground. I mean, absolutely to the ground. And I tell you what, the neighborhood went crazy. They're like, "What did you do? Oh my goodness, you have no privacy now. It looks so different. It's so strange. Why did you cut down all those trees?" Now, I'll come back to that story in a second, but the logs that we cut down, we used to make that log retaining wall. And what happened, lo and behold, because we did to the privets what they were supposed to be doing, is they resprouted. And about 9 months after we cut them down, we had people stopping us and asking us, "Wow, what did you plant to replace those trees you cut down? What is it? I got to put some of that in my yard." And they didn't believe us at first when we told them it was the same trees. We just cut them down and let them regrow from the trunks, and we now have this beautiful bushy hedge, which is wonderful privacy for us, and it's terrific wildlife cover for the coyotes, the rabbits, the birds, the squirrels, all kinds of critters. So it was a win-win all the way around for us, and we just need to keep up on top of it so they don't get too tall and we can still maintain them. I thought about waiting to do this video until I had the yard all cleaned up, the weeds all put away, all that kind of stuff. And I realized if I did that, I would never do the video. So who knows what we're going to find out here. The orange flags are from the gopher trapping service. So they set the traps and then they mark them so that they can come back and take care of the gophers that help me at least keep some of my plants. The rabbits eat an awful lot. The moles eat some of the stuff. The birds, I mean, we plant it for wildlife. As long as there's enough for them and enough for us to share, I'm okay. I'm okay with that. So the path I'm walking on is all the decomposed granite that we took from underneath the batting cage. That was really great to be able to reuse it. And then here's our log wall made from the privets. And we will be planting lots of plants in there to hopefully hold that together. And of course the logs will, decompose, but hopefully by that time we'll have some trees along the bottom here and some other plants to kind of help keep things in check. This right here, one of my favorite plants for the garden. Doesn't look like much unless you need a green hedge. This is my California native coyote brush, and it is like one of the best pollinator plants in the garden. It gets so many itty bitty tiny native bees and wasps and critters that I can't even see because they're so tiny. I just love this, and I can cut it back and it pops right back up again, and I can cut off a 1 foot chunk of it and stick it in the ground in the fall and it takes off like crazy. And if I use it in eco printing, it gives me a wonderful yellow. The flowers are small kind of white things and they print too, but the leaves really, they give a nice branching yellow pattern to a eco print, which is really nice. So I'm at the back part of the yard now. There's actually a driveway down there where the guys with the wood chips can come in. The house is up there. And what turned out to be a really great thing, having the house up there, besides, letting the water drain away, it meant that it was a lot easier for us to capture the rainwater and use it to help us irrigate the property. Now, I don't mean by traditional, put in a sprinkler system and a timer and all that kind of stuff. We don't do that. We rely on Mother Nature. And what we've done, I don't know if you can see in this video, and I'll make the thing even more shaky if I try and zoom in, but all the way over by the stairs, there's a black pipe coming down. And that black pipe collects the water from the back of the house and the side of the house. And that black pipe goes underground and it comes all the way down and it comes out here. If you can see it there, there's some yerba buena, a wonderful native ground cover that smells very minty, makes a great tea. That is draping down over it, but it comes down there. And then what it does, there's about a 3-foot trench there, and that trench goes and goes. And let's see, we're going to shake just a little bit because I'm walking, sorry about that. But it goes in front of the poppies. You kind of see a path of wood chips. And then it's going to come over here and it's going to go in front of the coyote brush. Okay, so what does that path do? Well, that path is actually a trench, and it's about 3 feet wide and about 3 feet deep and filled with wood chips, and there's actually some branches and logs in the bottom, and we need to put some more wood chips on top. But the water from the top of the house comes down, goes through the underground pipes, lands in the creek bed, and then slowly percolates along this trench that goes all the way to the end of those bushes. And in doing so, we changed this yard that was an absolute moat. The first year we moved in, there were 3 or 4 inches of standing water in this whole property all winter long. We turned this from a moat into a yard that is so far taking care of itself with the watering. Now we do a few things with irrigation, and that would be with our gray water system. Let's see, sorry again, I'm walking. There's a small wood retaining wall over there, and in there is our gray water system, and it's a double filtration system, wonderful system that takes the water from our showers and our laundry, and it sends it out here to our citruses. We've got a lime tree, 4 lemon trees, and 2 orange trees, and they should start producing maybe next year. And the only irrigation these guys get are from our gray water system, and that's the only irrigation we do in the property. So it sort of is, you got to really want to grow here to make it in this hard land. But when I think about the fact that, 5 years ago, there was nothing here. None of this stuff was here. I feel pretty proud of how far we've come with it. And, there's adjustments to make. That's the way it is. But I put in a lot of yarrow and a lot of carex bunch grasses because I just wanted them to put down deep roots and help break up that soil. And it's working. And then we brought in a lot of wood chips because the local tree companies here will bring you wood chips for free. And so we piled on, probably at one time we had like 8 inches of wood chips on the ground. And that's been awesome because it has allowed the worms to come up from underneath and start, doing the, cultivating the soil for us. We don't till, we let the micro herds do all the work for us. Here's some of my native asters. And the bees love this, and it prints pretty nice for eco printing, and it dries very nicely too. It can be kind of weedy, so if you're trying to keep it in a certain area, it might be kind of difficult. Big bush over there is my native mallow, and it's got beautiful big leaves like a maple tree, and pink flowers, and the leaves and the flowers both print very nicely for me. I do have some fennel there for my swallowtails. So far no eggs, but they do come through and land on the yarrow and the fennel. Lots of baby plants here. This is my sambucus. Well, I knew it as Sambucus mexicana. I think the name has changed now, but it is a native elderberry. So I will have elderberries, and I will be able to make elderberry jam or jelly or wine. But more importantly, I can use it to dye plants. To make dye to, actually dye the papers with, or I can use them to do eco printing with. And that's kind of what I'm looking at now, is how I can combine my native plants with dye plants, so I will have a combined wildlife habitat garden and a dyer's garden. This is my California native coyote mint. I'm not somebody that knows most of the Latin names, so for me you're going to get the common names. And you can tell me the Latin names if you want to, but I could look them up, but my brain just doesn't remember them anymore, and I'm okay with that. The bees, of course, love this. The butterflies love this. Easy to propagate, and it dyes nicely. It prints very nicely. Here's a closer look at one of the recycled concrete or urbanite terraces that we did. My husband did, I should say. I didn't do anything except for tell him where I wanted it all to go. And most of this concrete came from our neighbors when I heard the jackhammer going, and they were ripping up a tile patio in the front yard, and so we just had the guys bring it over here, and so we were able to make a wall up top. And I have steps in here somewhere. Obviously this was not part of the area that got weeded on Saturday, but this is a great place for a lot of my native plants. And this was a slope, very steep slope, when we first started this, and there was no way I was going to be able to climb up and down it and maintain it. So now it's usable with steps in 3 places. This is some of our native verbena, which the butterflies love and the bees love. There's some whitish monkey flower in there. And we have some of the red monkey flower. It's fading to orange now, but this has been blooming for months. And these propagate really easily as well. Some more of the verbena. Let's see. Silver carpet is what I remember about the yellow flower. I can't remember the rest of the name. I've not tried dyeing with it yet. I'm very hopeful about it though, and it's been a beautiful plant for pollinators, so I need to get some more this fall. It's the same terrace, just another view. This is one of the 3 sets of steps going up to it. And the deck. Here's our gray water system. And then that black pipe over there is what brings all the water from the downspouts down into the backyard. This beautiful bush here, a few months ago, was covered with gorgeous blue blossoms. That is our native, I guess it's kind of a native hybrid. It's a Ray Hartman ceanothus, California lilac, and one of my most favorite plants in the garden. These are some more terraces that we did, again with the recycled concrete. This was a slope that I was not going to be able to climb and maintain, And now I can get up and down the upper area there. I can reach from up by the house. Coming down here is a Keclia cordelia, I think it's called. Beautiful orange trumpet-shaped blossoms that the hummingbirds love. Never could get this to grow in San Jose, but it seems very happy here under the shade of the oak tree here in Scotts Valley. These guys here are just getting established. This is the California dogwood, our native dogwood. And we had a beautiful side yard with these at our old house, and I just loved them and just knew I had to find a place to do them here. And so they're bushing out nicely, and I expect next year they should be fence high. And even though they are deciduous, they'll give us some nice privacy in the summer. Mostly the privacy that we want is to keep Zoe, our white German Shepherd, from going too crazy when people come by, because she just really goes nuts. She can see so much here. So that's a first look here in July of 2019 at where we have come in our native garden in the first few years that we have been here. I hope you like this sort of thing. Let me know in the comments if you want to see more of the garden. I thought every few weeks I could do a little bit of something about it, and then I'll talk more about the plants that I use in my eco dyeing. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time. Bye for now.